Hi, and welcome to Royalty Princess Shaw's channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you reside around the world. Okay, so this is a story time about when I was attending church and I was a part of. And this happened like many, many years ago. And I don't know if somebody else could be having the same encounters at this time, but I'm going to be obedient and tell this story time. So I was attending this church back in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And, well, actually, the church is in Rayford, North Carolina. And I enjoyed attending that church, and, I learned a lot, and everything was good with the fellowship and the worship. And maybe about 2.5 years to 3 years after I had attended that church, I was like, okay, I need to add some more activities to my schedule. I need to do more. I was just feeling like it was more that I could be doing on top of the things that I already had to do. So I said, okay, I will pray and try something new. And I did that, and I decided that I wanted to join the choir. And so when I wanted to join the choir, you know, I found out that they was having practice, and when they did the next practice, I stayed out the church, and I attended the practice. The practice went well, and I was so excited to be a part of on the choir and to be able to use my gifts for God, which I always try to make sure I do or incorporate in my life. So after all of that, I went home feeling joyful, excited, refreshed. I was able to stay out there church for practice. And whenever I got home, I had to take care of my children. I had a household to attend to. So as I'm getting ready to relax, like, I received a phone call in the afternoon, and I kid you not, it had to be like almost 8 o'clock at night. And it was a phone call from a female pastor. And she was like, hey, and she was like asking me, I guess, about the practice that I attended. And she was saying that I was not going to be able to be a part of the choir. And I was like really, really crushed. My feelings was hurt because I'm like, I come to church every week. I drive almost 40 minutes, 40 minutes to get out there. You know what I'm saying? Me and my children, to fellowship and to be a part of. And this is what you're telling me at this time of night. And as long as it took me to get the courage and the strength to, face whatever fears, personal fears and things that I was dealing with, now that I'm ready to step forward in Christ, now it's an issue. So I was really, really on 100. I'm not going to lie. I was really, really fed up and disappointed. And I couldn't believe that a pastor would tell me, you know what I'm saying, a member of the church, you know what I'm saying, that I couldn't be a part of. So I was like, okay. And not to mention, I had already attended church 5 years prior with our umbrella church, which we all one umbrella in a different city, but we all together. So, like, I was really confused and concerned. So she was like, I can be on a different choir, but I couldn't be on that particular choir. And my whole thing about that was, if that be the case, and, if that's the policy and the rule, the standard for the church, so be it. Our respect will be given. However, for them to let me attend the practice, stay there the whole time, and not address me as soon as possible, instead of letting me attend the practice and then saying it's an issue later, I had a big problem with that. So I gave it over to the Lord, and then they wanted me to be on a different choir, but by then, I was no longer interested, because you have to teach people how to respect you. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't want to be treated like that, so why would you think that I would want to be treated like that? So I was real disappointed by her actions. So I said, wow, you know what I'm saying? Okay, Lord, So this is how, my journey has been almost my whole walk with Christ throughout the years. And it's been a roller coaster, but it's been a good learning experience. And if you want to do something at church, that's why I would say make sure you are fellowshipping at the right church, because it's so important. You know what I'm saying? You need to be somewhere where you will be able to grow and learn about Christ, somewhere where you can get fed and your children's spirits, y'all spirits can get fed, so that you can really grow in Christ and not just be attending church services on Sunday. So it was a hurtful type thing to me, but my whole life I've been going through mistreatments my whole entire life. So, you get kind of used to it after a while, but I don't want people to not go to God because of bad experiences at church. I want them to continue to go to church. I want them to continue to grow in Christ. I want them to continue to flourish in the things of God and not allow the enemy to woof you or move you out of your position. But like I always tell people, what God has for you is for you, and nobody can ever take that away. So I love you, and this is Royalty Princess Jah. I thank you. Have a blessed day. Until the next video. Bye-bye.